Men. Today we're diving into one of the most popular roadside attractions in the entire country.
This guy's an icon.
Everybody stops and you'll see them out there like this.
They're an important part of advertising history, roadside history.
The 25-foot tall giants known as Muffler Men. There's a reason Muffler Men are so iconic. They're everywhere. There's somewhere between 180 and 200 of them sprinkled across the country. So that means basically wherever you're road tripping to, there's probably one nearby. The eternal tome of roadside wisdom, Roadside America, actually coined the phrase Muffler Man in 1996 when they launched their website. According to their data, there are 4 surrounding, or guarding perhaps, the outskirts of Pittsburgh. Here's one of them. This is a classic Paul Bunyan-style Muffler Man, standing outside of the Mr. Tire in Uniontown. This was formerly Import-Export Tires, which I assume was owned by Art Vandelay. This guy is 20 feet and 6 inches tall and weighs a whopping 820 pounds. This one is also notable for its bright red lips and, upon closer inspection with our zoom lens, his drawn-on eyelashes. We're not really sure what that's all about, and no one here at Mr. Tire was able to clarify. Anyway, like all official Muffler Men, he's made of fiberglass. However, quick note, not all big dudes are automatically Muffler Men. For instance, Big Jim here, outside of the Bentleyville Best Western, certainly very cool, but not a Muffler Man. Check out the hands on the Mr. Tire Paul Bunyan. Right palm facing up, left palm facing down. The optimal grip for muffler holding. The hand position is perhaps the biggest clue that you've encountered an authentic Muffler Man. And that's what a lot of them used to hold in those hands back in the 1960s outside of auto shops. Mufflers, hence the name Muffler Men. See, it's all starting to come together now. And okay, but what the heck is an authentic Muffler Man? To answer that question, we wanted to talk to an expert.
Muffler Men has been my hobby since 2011.
This is Joel Baker. He's the founder of American Giants and pretty much the authority on Muffler Men.
We do restorations, and I continue to do historical research, and I've really kind of become somebody to help business owners and people who want to get Muffler Men either restore them or find them or sell them.
He has an entire YouTube series himself devoted to his hunt for Muffler Men across the U.S. called American Giants. It's a priceless archive of American roadside history.
Muffler Men are specifically a fiberglass giant around 20 feet, all made from the same mold. So that's what's unique about them. You often have giants across America, but Muffler Men would resemble each other. They would be almost identical other than a different hat or something they hold that's different.
So, this whole craze got started back in the 1960s.
They were used for advertising back in the 1960s. That's what all the businesses wanted, was a big statue. From what we know, there was a guy named Bob Pruitt, and he was a rodeo man. He was a cowboy, and he was making horse trailers, and he started experimenting with fiberglass to get things lighter. And he needed a horse to go in it to display it at all these rodeos he went to when he wanted to sell it. A live horse is a headache, right? He used this lady they knew to sculpt him a horse, and then he makes a mold of it in fiberglass, and he starts making his first horses, and he goes to these rodeos and everyone wants the horse and not the trailer. It's like 60, 61, and that was how it was born.
That was all through Bob's company, Pruitt Fiberglass. Then the models transitioned to International Fiberglass by way of Steve Dashew.
This wealthy guy named Stanley Dashew, and he had a young son named Steve, and so they were in the boat business. Steve wanted to make fiberglass boats to help income. Stanley worked a deal with Bob Pruitt and bought a lot of those molds, and that's how you have transition of basically Paul Bunyan here going to International Fiberglass, which was in Venice, California, and they really took off with it.
By 1963, International Fiberglass started pumping out their newly acquired Muffler Men and started all sorts of riffs and variations on the original. The Muffler Man at Mr. Tire is an original Paul Bunyan style giant, the most common classic variation.
Boots that go up to his shin and the pant leg tucks into the boot. That's very characteristic of a Bunyan, and that was the way they were first made. And then as you come up, they always had suspender buttons, which is unique for the Bunyan. Blue pants, black boots, red shirt with a collar. They always had a beard, and they had a knit cap.
The Mr. Tire Bunyan has his cap painted black to make it look like hair. From 1962 until international fiberglass closed in 1976, hundreds, if not thousands, of Muffler Men were built for roadside businesses. As businesses closed, Muffler Men were moved around and in many cases repainted and modified to fit their new locations. Case in point, when we rolled up to this one in Greensburg at Lugnuts Tire and Auto Service, we expected him to be painted like a football player. As you can see here in this photo from road trip extraordinaire, roadside enthusiast, back in June of 2021. But to our surprise, he'd recently been repainted back to the classic lumberjack colors. Fresh paint still sprinkled on the rocks below. And naturally, many Muffler Men have great stories to go along with them. For instance, this guy's missing his head. It's because it blew off in a big storm. Obviously, we had a lot of questions about this headless, color-changing Muffler Man. However, Lugnuts was closed when we visited, so we headed across the street to Gino's Pizza to see if we could dig up any more info on this decapitated giant, who the workers at the counter have a great view of through their front window.
My family's owned this business, probably over 25 years.
Brian Gould has been here a long time and knows a thing or two about Greensburg lore.
This guy's an icon, and it's a shame that he lost his head. And he's been trying to keep it up. He still has the head over there.
I was gonna ask, where's the head?
No, he has it in the garage.
With a new lead on the head from Brian at the pizza shop across the street, we got a hold of the owners of Lugnuts to investigate further. And 2 days later, we went back. But we'll get to that in a little bit, because at the same time, we were also chatting with one of our other Instagram road tripping friends, Shelly Lynn, who runs an account called the Paul Bunyan Muffler Man Project.
I love roadside attractions, especially Muffler Men. Muffler Men are my favorite.
Over the years, an entire culture of seeking out Muffler Men across America has blossomed.
I started really seeking them out in 2009. I think I'm probably up to like 80.
Shelly is a member of an ever-growing community of road trippers who seek out these towering fiberglass beacons of nostalgia across the country.
I also grew up with a Muffler Man as a child. I'm from Maryland originally, and there was a Muffler Man on the boardwalk in Ocean City. That's the real roots of it.
We zoomed with her as she was on a great American road trip.
My husband and I have been on the road since July. So yeah, it's going to be almost 9 months.
They had just stopped in Dallas, Georgia, where there is a collection of Muffler Men.
And there was an original pirate head that they say was in the desert for years. They found it, and I was like, can I come see it? And at first they were like, we really don't let people inside. But then, I don't know, I was so excited. I was wearing this t-shirt. And they were like, okay, you can come see it. Yeah. So that was a fun one.
Now totally taken over by Muffler Mania ourselves, Ryan and I reached out to our friends Evan and Rachel in San Francisco. We told them that there was a Muffler Man nearby and that they should go check him out someday. No more than 2 hours later, they sent us his footage back.
All right, we're coming up to it. We should be close.
Oh, there it is.
They found him. This is Big Don in Hayward, California. He used to stand in Boonville, Missouri, and was rescued and restored by Bruce Kennedy of Bell Plastics in 2013.
All right, what do you think, Ev?
I've never seen anything like this.
While they explored Bell Plastics, they also came across 2 more Bunyan Muffler Men and a happy half-foot variant. Now, American road tripping may seem at first like a lonesome activity because of all the time you spend isolated in the car, with maybe just a few other people. But it's really a collective adventure, shared by thousands across the country, all of our own personal stories intertwined through points of interest from coast to coast. That is to say, one of the best things about road tripping is the people you meet along the way. And our third Muffler Man visit brought us to a really special group of people who we'll never forget. Up about an hour north of Pittsburgh is Sam. He was put here in 1962, making him one of the oldest remaining Muffler Men anywhere. Sam is a cowboy variant. obviously. And that was a common modification of the original Paul Bunyan style.
They got rid of those tuck-in boots, and the pant leg went all the way down to the top of the shoe for the cowboy. They got rid of the suspender buttons for the cowboy. And then you come up and instead of that knit cap, they just had a cowboy hat. They made a clean-shaven version, which really what they did is they took a Muffler Man and they just smoothed out that beard, which is why Muffler Men often have this really pronounced jaws. It's really the beard smoothed over.
Sam stands outside Cadet Restaurant in Katanning. We found this old photo inside from around the time it opened, in 1952. As you can see, Sam's not there yet. The restaurant has recently reopened under new ownership, but original owner George Morda can still be found here every day, usually with his wife, Mimi. George has been here since day one, 70 years ago.
August the 1st, 1952. There was hardly anything here, just a little place, and the hillside came right up to where we're sitting. I had to dig the hillside out and made room for the parking. Well, it was called the Owl's Nest initially. It had limestone and gravel on the floors. It was just a little place. Yeah, I call it the cadet because I wanted to be a pilot. I got in there too early, so I went into the regular army, but I had two brothers that were pilots. They flew missions over Germany.
George still remembers Sam's arrival at Cadet.
Went to a show over in Chicago, compliments of West Penn Power. And we happened to see this displayed over there, so we bought them. He came in 3 pieces. They delivered it, the head, the shoulders, and the bottom, and then we put it together.
Sam holds a giant hamburger in his right hand, and road trippers are always stopping to see him.
Everybody stops, and you'll see them out there like this, trying to get that shot.
Originally, he drew passersby into the drive-in here. George opened the first drive-in in the tri-state area, and you can still see the remnants of that on the side of the building opposite Sam. Well, how did he get the name Sam?
I think maybe I'm responsible for that because that's what I called him. Nobody named him. He was just the Burger Man. And I started saying, that's Sam, the Burger Man.
Like his headless brother in Greensburg, Sam is also no stranger to catastrophe. On a foggy morning on September 29, 1990, there was an accident.
There was a Bronco pulling out of the quick fill station across from us, and there was a loaded coal truck coming down 422, and he ran into the Bronco, and so he knocked the Bronco clear down here and just missed the gas.
But it didn't miss Sam. The car crashed into Sam, knocking him over and badly damaging him.
Well, we had a car cruise not too long after that, and we had Sam's head in the window, and I could swear there were tears coming from his eyes. Put me back together,
10 years went by, and they couldn't find anyone to fix him. But then a neighbor stepped in to help.
Fish Motors was out of business at the time, and one of the sons came and asked us if he could try putting it together. So he had to fill in some pieces and everything, but he did a fantastic job.
And so, Sam was finally back up, greeting travelers on the Benjamin Franklin Highway once again. One of those travelers was Melanie Roby.
Back in 2020, COVID hit. I lost my job. Me and my kids wanted to move away, so we drove past here. And I seen Sam, and he was sad and alone.
Melanie found a house nearby, and then, one night,
I dreamt about it, the place, and me and my family worked here. And we ran it, and it was just a really weird dream. And then I looked on the internet, and the building was for sale. I met with George in October, and he says, there's no way you'll be able to. And I said, do you want to bet? And he looked at me, and he says, I'm not betting against you. And here we are. Where's everybody at? Go, you have to get on the camera. Where's my mother?
Melanie's family gutted the restaurant, cleaned it, and now her whole family runs it together. And it's a big family.
These are my sons. This is Miles and Scott, and my sister Krista. We cleaned the restaurant. And then this is Skylar and Becca, and my daughter Brittany, and my daughter Mallory. Where's my mother? This is Laura. This is my mom. Laura has been here since she was 14. This is my mother, and this is my family that's now working here. We all work together.
Melanie and her family have all gathered together at the Cadet to carry on the legacy of the place that George and Mimi started building so many years ago. Was it fate that had Melanie driving past Sam that day? Who can say? What is for certain is that Sam still stands tall as a monument to all of the friends, families, and loved ones who have shared a meal and a laugh together here at the Cadet for 7 decades. All of that got us thinking more and more about not just the statues themselves, but the people behind them. As Jewel mentioned, the big names in classic Muffler Man lore are Bob Pruitt and Steve Dashew. Bob started the whole thing with the original fiberglass Paul Bunyans, and Steve eventually took over and modified them. But as we were researching Muffler Men, a third name caught our attention. While some road trippers are familiar with Bob Pruitt and Steve Dashew, who actually made the Muffler Men?
Hi.
Hello. Thanks for talking to us.
You're welcome.
I guess just start by telling us, who was Bill Swan?
Yeah, he started when he was like between 2 and 3. He would carve out of soap. That's what his mother would, try to buy abundance of soap and give him soap to carve. And he would carve, people, animals, and...
Who made the original Muffler Man? It was this gentleman, Bill Swan. Born in 1922, he was the one who actually sculpted the original Paul Bunyan mold in either 1960 or 1961. And while there's plenty of history out there about Bob and Steve, in our research, we couldn't find a whole lot about Bill. That was until we came across a comment on another YouTube video about Muffler Men from Lisa Smith. She said that her father was the man who created the original Muffler Man. Bill Swan was her father.
We were really close. We did a lot of horseback riding. Ride through the mountains. Yeah, there's a lot of good memories.
This is Lisa and her father here on a pony cart that he built. Nephew Scott along for the ride too. The pony's name was Timmy. Bill was someone we really wanted to learn more about. Lisa sent us this photo of him with her mother. And here he is with his father.
He was pretty, not strict. He just had something about him where you would mind him.
We wanted to learn more because, after all, he was the man who sculpted the first Paul Bunyan.
Initially, he moved to California. They were in Idaho. I wasn't born yet, but they were in Idaho. And he built a park down there, Dinosaur Land, off of Alpine, California. And so he made all the dinosaur parks there. And so that's where it all started, was molding those. It was after that he started, making molds for the fiberglass company.
Believe it or not, one of Bill's dinosaurs actually survives at the trailer park that now sits on the site near San Diego. Here's some footage of it from travel YouTuber Steve of Sidetrack Adventures. It might not look like much, but this is where it all started. Shortly after that, Bill Swan started doing contract work for Bob Pruitt.
And Bill Swan is the one we believe that he was the one who sculpted Paul Bunyan.
And in 1962, the Paul Bunyan Cafe on Milton Road in Flagstaff, Arizona, received a statue made from Bill's lumberjack mold. The rest is history.
They just said that they wanted something, large, something that would lure people in off the road.
And lure people in, Bill did. His resume extends beyond just the Muffler Men. For instance, how about the Ford Mustang horse that used to be displayed on Ford's lots? Here's a photo Lisa sent us of Bill sculpting that. And incredibly, she recently recovered what is believed to be his original Mustang. A lot of it was history that Lisa actually wasn't around for. She was born in 1965, after all of this happened. So what sticks with her the most isn't his legacy at International Fiberglass, but rather her memories of Bill as a man who loved to ride and experience the vast beauty of the American West from horseback. Here he is, setting out on his horse, Amigo.
My memories are just mainly of us riding horses. We used to be so close. I followed him all over the ranch. He used to call me his little shadow.
While the legacy of the Muffler Man is what Bill handed down to the rest of America, for his daughter, his love of riding is something she still cherishes after all these years. Lisa's written an entire book about her father. It's called The Man Behind the Muffler Man, and as the culture of Muffler Men continues to excite road trippers across the country, she hopes that travelers remember Bill's part in it.
Nobody, really knew the man behind all of the statues. When people pass it down to the children, like I see they have been recently, and I'd hopefully like to see his name along with it, go down in history too, because I feel that's what he deserves.
Okay, so at this point, we'd only technically seen 2.5 Muffler Men, but I had just talked to Brian at Lugnuts, and he had something to show us.
He still has the head over there. No, he has it in the garage.
Yes! There it was! The head! And to our surprise, rather than still being damaged from its fall, it had been beautifully restored.
Well, we found the head! And it looks great! It's in amazing condition. I knew it was gonna be big, but actually seeing it in person, pretty crazy up close like this. It's really cool.
One of the things we've learned about Muffler Men lore is that a lot of the histories are fuzzy. A lot of it's oral history. My great uncle told his mailman who told Bill up the street that this Muffler Man was painted one way or another, that it used to stand here or there in the 60s. A lot of the time without any sort of paper trail to trace down the truth with. The Lugnuts Muffler Man is one of those. For instance, a few places online report that he's originally from a tire shop in Pittsburgh and moved to Greensburg in 1962. But more than one person, including a reputable local historian and Brian from the pizza shop, told us, hold on, that's not true. It's always been here, and it used to stand outside a lumber yard.
When I was a child, it used to be a lumber yard.
Supposedly it was an 84 lumber, but we haven't been able to officially verify that. There was for sure a lumber yard here, on South Urania Avenue, which isn't too far away. That was Greensburg Lumber and Mill Company. Is this what everyone's remembering? And was this Bunyan originally there? So, like we said, fuzzy. In any case, this guy's a trooper. He survived the storm that took his head off, and even more recently...
we had a storm come through, and it came right down the road, and I was sitting in the garage bay and literally saw someone's roof rolling down the road, like a big section of it. Our second floor roof got ripped off and flooded, and power lines went down and everything, so... But he stood still, he didn't come down, so...
It looks like it's been recently repainted, back to the original Paul Bunyan lumberjack style. This beard that used to be painted as skin for the football player is painted back to look like a beard again.
Brian's wife showed us photos of when they took the head home and repainted it in their front yard. Brian told us that he's working on getting it back up there. Obviously, it's no easy task. So here's hoping that it's restored to its former glory soon. There's no shortage of love for Muffler Men here. In the lobby, you'll find some beautiful artwork of a Paul Bunyan and the Blackwood, New Jersey Uniroyal gal up on the wall.
Uniroyal, they wanted something different.
They weren't all Muffler Men. Meet the Uniroyal gal, aka Miss America.
In a completely different mold. She had a skirt, she had a bikini under that, which was really cool. You could order her with just a bikini, but primarily she was used by the Uniroyal company, who always had a skirt on her, and she held a sign in her raised hand that said Uniroyal.
So anyway, now we'd officially seen 3 of our 4 local Muffler Men. The last of the Muffler Men on our quest around southwest Pennsylvania was by far the most remote, in the mountains of Somerset, Pennsylvania.
He's inside the Scottyland campground, not far from Seven Springs, and is modified to look like Uncle Sam.
During the camping season, he holds a Welcome Campers sign in his muffler grip and has been at Scottyland since the 1960s.
I am almost positive he is the General Tire Man. The General Tires used to have him out front holding the big tractor tires.
Do you know how he ended up here?
Yeah, really, it was my grandfather, an interesting guy. He came from the auto business, and he bought this farm in 1962. Turned it into a campground, and it would have been my grandfather who was paying attention to that being available at one point, and he bought it.
This is a cowboy model. Pants over the shoes here, belt instead of suspender buttons, and a cowboy hat. This one's slightly modified to fit the character, and he hasn't always been painted as Uncle Sam either.
When I think back over the years, he's been just about everything you can think of. He has been a Santa Claus, he has been a hula dancer with a Hawaiian theme, he's been a cowboy on a Western theme, he's been a hobo on a hobo theme, and I'm referring, of course, to theme weekends we've had over the years.
We talked to some campers who have hung out next to Uncle Sam for close to a decade, and no one has any photos of those costume changes. So you'll just have to use your imagination for those. But just like all the other Muffler Men we've met along the way, this towering fiberglass behemoth has become an icon in the community. A campground seems like an unlikely place for a Muffler Man, but that's probably what's most fun about hunting them down on road trips. Sometimes they can be in the most peculiar places.
We've had lots of interest with people from out of the area that are curious about it. We had interest from Florida, and we had interest from Colorado, I recall.
We're pretty sure that had to be Joel.
But it amazes me, the intrigue. It's not just me, and it's really growing. You know, this little cult following that's growing all the time of people that want to go see these guys.
Suffice to say, we are kind of obsessed now. On our way back from a music festival in Indianapolis, we visited their Mr. Bendo at Ralph's Muffler and Brake service, just a quick detour northwest of downtown.
Mr. Bendo, that was a specific giant, basically the same mold, but they raised his hand. He held an iron bar, bent pipe, and the whole idea there was to advertise the fact that a muffler shop could bend your muffler pipe to fit any car.
So there's that sort of national identity connected with those and like a particular time.
The nostalgia part, you know, you have a generation now who's older and it's all part of their childhood memories.
For a long time, because it was mass produced, people saw things like Muffler Men or other roadside attractions as disposable or just like ephemeral, but now I don't know if it's the nostalgia factor or the kind of national identity factor. People are seeing them as more historical or in need of preservation or worth saving.
And okay, on this continuing adventure, did we drive 8 hours to Ocean City just to see Shelly's first Muffler Man? Yeah, of course we did. And he was a real handsome man, standing just outside the main entrance of Jolly Roger Amusement Park on Philadelphia Avenue. And when you stand in the shadow of these guys, you really do get caught in a wave of everything Shelly is talking about. It's a little bit of nostalgia, a little bit of national identity, and also a sense of community. After all, we'd only made this detour, an 8-hour weekend drive, because of a friend we made on our little Muffler Man journey back home.
They're a remnant and a reminder of what our roadsides looked like back in the 60s.
We're finding them everywhere now, coast to coast. When we were in LA this summer, Ryan struck out one morning to visit Sergio, a lumberjack with a checkered shirt, standing outside an auto glass shop just outside of downtown. And yeah, after seeing that painting of the Uniroyal gal at Lugnuts, we couldn't just not drive out to New Jersey to see her. This is Nitro Girl. She's one of the most iconic Uniroyal gals left, kept in pristine condition outside Warbany Tire Town.
And so many family memories. You know, these guys appear in so many family albums. You know, these Muffler Men are really part of our families.
With the renewed focus on finding them, preserving them, and restoring them, there's no doubt that these roadside giants will continue to bring us together, sometimes in the most unexpected ways, for years to come. As we said, there's around 200 Muffler Men spread across America. So no matter where your next road trip is, chances are there's one just a quick detour away. So what are you waiting for? Go out and see one for yourself. And we'll see you next time.